It's Friday, 9:38 p.m. Authorities officially declare the Houston performer Travis Scott's Astroworld concert a mass casualty event. It was supposed to be a night of fun, at least that's what the roughly 50,000 men, women and children who had come from all corners of the globe were expecting on the warm autumn night of November 5th of 2021. But not even they could have expected the events that took place that fateful night.
Aeronaut.
Before we dive deep into the events that culminated in one of the greatest disasters of the hip-hop world, we'll have to get a rough overview of what actually happened. As the birds were chirping during the early morning hours of the 5th of November 2021, visitors to Travis Scott's Astroworld were already pouring into the venue, and as guests started indulging themselves in the different A-list performers that accompanied the festival, excitement started to rise for the person they'd actually come for. It was supposed to be his biggest show so far, a reintroduction into the world of festivals after the lockdowns made it impossible previously, a beacon of hope in challenging times, using the power of music to hype people up for Travis's upcoming album, Utopia, and fans seem to reciprocate this sentiment, with all of the tickets, despite their high price tag, being sold out within less than an hour. But as time progressed in its unstoppable rhythm, an uneasy feeling started to set in with some of the visitors, almost as if they could sense the impending doom. And it was this before the show could even begin and the speakers could utter their first note when everything started to go wrong. Travis would enter the stage at approximately 9 p.m. Staff noted at the time that the attendance was a lot higher than anticipated, and documents later revealed that the police department mentioned dangerous crowd conditions. And while the medical personnel started getting worried about the increasing number of visitors, people in the crowd started noticing the first red flags. Sources confirmed that at that point, even bodily functions like breathing became more and more difficult to take care of. But it only worsened as time progressed.
And all of a sudden, people compressed up against each other and were pushing forward and backward. Little did we know, all hell was about to break loose. People started to pass out and fall to the ground.
During the performance, more and more people started entering the main crowd area, pushing the people who were at the front further and further towards the barricades until it was virtually impossible for them to escape. And when a lot of people are in a tight, confined space, bad things are bound to happen. And the crowd would start noticing this too. But despite all of their pleas with security, their cries would be eclipsed by the vibrating 808s that provide the soundtrack to the unfolding horror show. And Travis would finish his set. By then, the concert had been declared a mass casualty event by local authorities, and 8 people had already been confirmed dead, 2 more in the hospital. It's difficult for me to illustrate just how dangerous the conditions at the show were, and what these people actually had to go through without turning their tragedies into a spectacle, but I can assure you that what happened wasn't pretty by any means.
It felt like we was in a concert in hell. You couldn't breathe, you couldn't see, like, it was just chaos, bro. It was a living hell, bro.
I had men on the left side of me that were screaming for their lives, women on the right side also saying that they couldn't breathe.
It was like quicksand, going under and just seeing nothing but people.
So I got to the point where I couldn't breathe, but I knew that I had to stop shouting for security because security was not helping us.
A struggle to survive. They were standing shoulder to shoulder right beside each other, but they became separated as the crowd surged in again to this left side area, and they just watched in horror as fans all around them in this area started passing out and started begging for help.
This is a very real phenomenon that has its own name, crowd crushes, and in spite of their simple nature, they keep occurring to this day at events like this. However, in this case, a lot of people thought it was different, as Travis's track record is littered with several previous violations of safety regulations, the earliest going back to 2015, when he was arrested on charges of inciting a crowd to jump barriers at the Lollapalooza Festival in Chicago, something he ended up pleading guilty for. And it doesn't stop there. Travis's initial November 6th Twitter statement was met with heavy scrutiny from the public, accusing him of posting nothing but a bland PR written statement, and even heavier allegations were levied against Scott. An Instagram video of Travis talking about the situation would follow soon after, but particularly this one would be mocked by fans and haters alike. But Travis wouldn't let it be, and decided to double down in several interviews that were also immediately subjugated to even heavier criticisms. Promises of covering the victims' funeral expenses were made, but rejected by the families in most cases. It was clear that this was something that couldn't just be glossed over, as media outlets would keep hammering who the individual responsible was.
Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival.
Rapper Travis Scott.
Travis Scott.
Travis Scott.
Travis Scott.
But hold on. Is this really all just Travis's fault, or are we forgetting something? I mean, it's pretty clear that he wasn't really aware of what was actually going on in the crowd. If he had known, would he really keep on going? Even if you consider Travis an emotionless monster, would it not stop at the clear impact this disaster had on his bottom line, killing the release of his upcoming album? And even if he could have stopped the show, would this have really helped the situation? I mean, you know how chaotic crowds can be. And there's something I haven't mentioned so far. Leaked documents revealed that he wasn't in the position to stop an event like this in the first place, which makes sense because artists are usually just performers and have some amount of creative input, as seen with other festivals, but usually don't organize most of the stuff happening at the venue. But that begs the question, who was actually able to put an end to the unfolding chaos? The company behind organizing Astroworld is Live Nation Entertainment, a service that supposedly helps artists plan events like this. And they're a big conglomerate, quite literally the largest in the world, with an almost endless supply of A-list artists. From Beyonce to Post Malone and Drake, they manage pretty much every big name in the business. But if you take a closer look at their track record, a small trail of information appears that gets bigger and bigger the more you investigate their company history. If you thought Travis's safety violations were bad, this is next level. It starts with involvement in minor safety regulation failures, but as you follow their path, they keep getting bigger. The 2017 Ariana Grande concert suicide bombing, a 2011 stage collapse that left 7 dead and 61 injured, a stage collapse at a Radiohead concert that killed 1 staffer, cases of reckless safety measures causing brain damage, even death, and now the 2019 Astroworld concert, not this one, but the one 2 years before, where several people were injured in a stampede that was a result of crowd's overwhelming staff breaking through gates and rushing for the entrances. Sound familiar? That is because this exact thing happened at the 2021 concert, just with a much worse result. All preventable safety violations that can be traced back to this company. Live Nation Entertainment and its subsidiary, Live Nation Worldwide, have been connected to about 200 deaths and at least 750 injuries since 2006, the Houston Chronicle reports. And still, the list of red flags just won't end. The company has been charged by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration around 10 times, and just in May, Live Nation posted a record $3.1 billion in revenue, up 73% from last year in the first quarter of 2023. So, who is really to blame for all of this? Is it Travis and his questionable lyrics and ignorant behavior? Is it the company that stands behind everything? Maybe even the crowd very clearly included several people that were perfectly fine with causing a bit of chaos. I honestly don't know, but I can tell you something. I know that nobody wanted this to happen. Nobody would want to have the death of a 9-year-old boy on their conscience. But this doesn't mean that these people shouldn't be held accountable.